Good evening again.
Good evening, Geshe.
Good evening. Good evening.
Everyone's warming up. Bob, are you warming up?
Very warm.
You look like India, you know, they're wearing some blankets. That's good, you know. Yeah. I think this is we can call the worst time to use the best way. Looks we don't waste any our time. You know, almost now 1 year ago, we just close. We don't really see each other. It's really funny, you know. Like usually the Tibetan New Year, there we have hundreds Tibetans come here. This year, you know, we just closed, then no one able to come. Even we saw someone there, I just say hello from my window. Even I go see them, and like we all just like something like we don't really trust each other, just we love to little far away. It's funny. Oh, the COVID-19 is very difficult for everyone, but you know, we didn't waste our time. We all of just taught our best. It's not easy. We are lucky one we didn't die anyone. Maybe you got sick, but also I heard, you know, tomorrow also they're open to like age over 65 and they have some health, you know, conditions. They can also to apply for the vaccine. I already got one vaccine. My second become like I think 26 or 27 something. I think something I would read today. Maybe, you know, they said the second one a little bit sick. Maybe Sunday I just laid on my bed. Then you guys reset the put it. You know, it's good, you know. Looks also right now become a little bit calm down. Especially for India, there's a whole country very calm down. Then the doctors doesn't know how they become calm down. No more or less, maybe the weather or maybe the COVID lose the power. I don't know. I think look like, you know, in our country here also there's every day a little bit less, but still we have to just make sure careful. We don't want to risk anything. Therefore, you guys did very good job, very good job. You know, everyone like accept just everyone we did that. We did. Now we have just maybe a couple more months. Still just be working, just make sure everyone's our families, friends, everyone just safe. And we can do all our events online. You know, it's much easier also maybe. You don't have to shovel your car, you don't have to take out your car. You know, you save your gas, you save your time. And therefore we can do like here. It's good also. It's wonderful. Then what we talk about. Have you guys discussion last week? No, you guys vacation, that's good.
And we all did our meditations and the going through.
Yeah, good. This is, you know, This is very important. You can recite the Heart Sutra when you have time. Just sometimes you can recite with the sound. Then sometimes just go through visualization. Then meditation. The right now, we are very, beginners. We don't much feel away short meditation, but it will walk slowly. It's not easy, just switch off, one switch on, not like that, but slowly. Like that, okay? Then again, we just go to, just try to, what we need after we finish study this a couple months. Then you have to think, okay, what Heart Sutra talk about first? Who heard, what heard, where, who are with them, what they're doing. That's what I remember is important. The location is the Rajgar. Who saw, who heard it, the Kungao. What's Kungao's name in English?
Avalokiteshvara or Shariputra?
Ananda.
Ananda.
Ananda is just a speaker.
Ananda. This message come from Ananda, Ananda. Ananda said, I heard sometime, I heard one time, I saw, the most text they have, they have like this. Therefore, how you say, what I call it? Like that. Therefore, what he saw, what he hear. The Buddha Shakyamuni do meditation with Avalokiteshvara. Then Buddha Shakyamuni blessing for him to ask, to question for Buddha Avalokiteshvara. What? Those person who already have like a renunciation, they like to meditation practice how to impermanent. No, emptiness. Then they like, how you say, blessing like that. Then, Shariputra ask the who, son or daughter, or male or female, who interested to practice, to path through the, emptiness. Then the fourth is understand empty of you form and yourself. Okay, now my English maybe not correct. Okay. What I think to reach 나도 지금 셈라봐 너희들이 시에요 너희들이 라고요래 삼 남주 셔럽님은 nembe qabla야 어떤 너희들이 라고요래 너희들이 레섬 수수 다 나지만 레다 다 되는 것이 정도.
So when you're reciting the Heart Sutra, it is important to think about the meanings that we just discussed. So this is what Buddha is saying, this is what Buddha is doing, this is what Avalokiteshvara is saying, this is what Shariputra is saying. So you have to think about all those as we recite the Heart Sutra prayer.
얘다 다 대나네 가도 봉봉에는 다 주지 봉봉 주지 가도 가리는 통대요래 가도 나대요래 줄라 차바 줄라 당아 걔는 가도 딸 수들래라고 뭐성보다 수때처럼 나와나지 요 말에스 근데 저랑 나지 맵에 수때 다랑 수그레스 간지 주 동방에 수수세대 주데 저랑 나와나지 저요 말에 얘나 저랑 나와나지 맞트비 나대티 다랑 수그레스 다 들려고 그러.
And so, because it's very easy for us to see the form, and easy to understand, easy to see form, and easy to get attached to the form, and easy to have aversion to the ugly forms and so forth. So, therefore, first it talks about the form being empty, and the form is empty. Emptiness is form. So when it says form is empty, it means like form doesn't exist. Form is one side, and so form is empty of existing inherently. And so such kind of an emptiness, such kind of thing that is empty of exists from its one side, such kind of form exists from empty of exists from its one side is the form. There's no form other than the form and empty of exists from its one side that is labeled as a form.
Okay, take hold of
You understand that, right? Easy.
take Kaliko on Matawachi. Zug Raji to Tonor Naya, Zug Teja Raji to my part said or Tema Bachi. No one that you talk about it. No one that you matter Zug Raji to Tonores. That's no what Taro Sugres. You're not there to Sugres at the Nedo Kora.
So when it says form is empty, that means like form is empty of existing in a way it appears to us. So it does appear, but not in a way it appears to us. It doesn't exist in a way it appears to us. So that's so so that the form that is not existing in a way that appears to us is the form. So when it says emptiness is form.
That is Zulatavan and Toa, the Shin, the number of Shibas, what do you mares? That day, Anita, do teaching it, the teaching it, any, and Yamnichetan Songore.
So just like it is applied to the form, then you apply that to the other aggregates like the feeling, discrimination, composition factor, and consciousness. So those are all in the same way empty of existing from their one side.
That day, Yamle Chetade to any lamp tambo, Solomda, Jolong, Tolong, than the Digi, some because Jolong, that Dara redus in the touch as anything. Want about the Legum.
And so that kind of contemplation is done on the path of accumulation and path of preparation. So on the path of accumulation, you gain some understanding through the study of that. And then on the path of preparation, you gain more experience on that through meditation.
Okay, that is Solomga Nagato, so and it's 2 Yamlich. And the Jonga Nagato, so Gomjo Yamlich, or what?
So on the path of accumulation, you have you gain the understanding through study, and in the path of preparation, you gain the understanding through meditation.
Ona Solom Lana Karna, Solom Sade, Surujilla, Nenjugo Sambe, Kimama Bakadi, Kenatela Solom Bas, Soloms.
So and the path of accumulation is whenever you have generated a genuine renunciation, the wish wishing to be free from cyclism through ordained. So when you have that kind of thought, then you have entered into the path of accumulation.
Okay. Tawana Tenisa Karna, Ani Kola Tante Losa Kanji, Tanda Garasujala Yoga, Sachi Yeligible, there are Sachi Yelim Pumbu, Lagres, Kaju Naya, Sayan, the Kadim, Kanji, then Kola Lagres. Chairs than Della Targo news. And it take Tando Luchima, my mother Kadi, and a generation of Mijuka.
And so understanding the suffering, right? So understanding the sufferings, the disadvantages of cycle existence, and the suffering, because there's a lot of suffering, especially the all-pervasive suffering, like this contaminated aggregate. That itself, is suffering. Because of that, because we have that, therefore we experience the suffering. So understanding that as a suffering, understanding that suffering and wishing to be free from that. That's when you really develop the renunciation. So just having a wish to be free from suffering, is anybody can have that. That's so easy. But real like the all-pervasive suffering, wanting to be free from that. When you have that wish, but through understanding that itself is the suffering, then that is what we call the renunciation.
Okay, that take up the Karnado, so Ani Tujunda, Gomjung and Yamlete, Solom Dojolani got a check over this. What they could do that.
And so what you have to understand here is that you gain the understanding or practice, through study and practice through meditation in path of accumulation and path of preparation.
And it take up the Tombani Jijos at Sherius.
And at that time, it explains the fourfold emptinesses.
And it take up the Kare sort of Tobacco and it Chentado, Tatani said, yes.
And at that time, what you clarify yourself from, you clear yourself, from the two extremes, the extreme of nihilism and extreme of eternalism.
다디 쇼들라 다때 바 제보치네야. 다 아니 돈람 그네 가서 아니 동반이 제조. 어송고요레스 되는마 주담제 동반이 tenye 바 마셔바 마가바 참마메 참마다 자와 참마메 강마메 바고 세드 파더와.
So after that, then it explains a little bit in more detail on the path of seeing. This is called the eightfold emptinesses.
동반이 제조로.
Yeah.
아니 되네 되지. 아니 뒤 가서야 아니 남들 거 섬다잖니. 아니 가도 냠내 쳐요레스.
Pick up the cursor.
남들 거 섬. 동반이 제조 값 남들 거.
Oh yeah, so so there's like there's the phenomena are empty without characteristic, that they do not produce and do not cease and so forth. So that's emptiness, of eightfold emptinesses, and also it explains in relation with the three doors of liberation or emancipation.
오케이. 다뒤 가서 다 좀바 끝다도 방도요레. 좀바 끝다고 미니.
And so at that time, then there is then the one abandons all these acquired or intellectual graspings that true existence.
와다 더조 마트리 가지네 zu다 가지 죽장자 시거스나 다 조응하나서 가디나 가지 모두들 차다 지야데 죽다 저로레자 텐데라 테니 계게 와다 때딱 무시나 송거요.
And so when you talk about the form aggregate of form, it includes all that the visual form, the olfactory, auditory, and all these kind of forms, right? All sense forms, and so because we usually develop obviously develop the the attachment and anger or aversion in relation to this, to the form, sound, smell, and so forth, and therefore it talks about all these form aggregates.
아디 다디 오더라 델레 때드 제와체네 아니 동반이 두체 레죽다잖네 아니야나 소고요.
And then after that, then again in explaining more extensively by applying to the 66 emptinesses.
그러 오다 테네마 가려고 아니 가로 다 좋아 아니 줌에 처음에 드시면 남을 시밤에 간지 감축 신체 주니 한가로 텐데로 말 감축 신체 아니 감축지 신체 주니지 감 가로 신체 주니 감축지 아니 텐데로 주니 덴바시 어디게 대단 이제 다 동반이 고성교래스.
And then so it's like says therefore Shariputra, there is in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, and so forth. So it talks about the the 18 constituents, 12 sources, 12 link of dependent originations, 4 noble truths, and so forth.
Okay. 다들 가지들은 다 남중 가서 뺐나 다 주다 토르야 되는 거라고 우리 대나니 다 아니 되지. 내가 파지잖아 아니 텐데라 주니건 거고 그래 대파 디디잖아 다 아니 덴바 시고는 거는 주도한 거로 봤어.
And so like I said, the attachments and aversions or angers mostly generated in relation to these objects, like the form, sound, smell, and so forth. So therefore it talks about the aggregates, form aggregate, then applied to the feeling aggregate and aggregate of composition factor and so forth. And then after that, it talks about all these in more details, with the 12 sources. And then it talks about how we enter and exit the cycle existing, or how we enter into the cycle existing through the 12 link of dependent originations. And then again on how we enter and how we exit the cycle existing through the 4 noble truths.
Okay. 다 델마드나 지랍주에 차서 고드마 대바테 곰 잡쇼스 곰지 잡쇼스.
And so now up to that, from the beginning, can you do some meditation now on that?
Okay. 아마 바르니 가로 그치 가로 혈공 선다 보시.
So just do like a kind of a glance meditation in a row, from beginning to this point.
제가 내가 남주 배나가도 고마카도 갱에 답 남주 가로 현대 정도 맞아 현대 차배나 조금 말 다른 고 미가 곰니 만도샤 그랬어.
So in the monasteries, when the teacher is teaching, they don't go through the exact words like that, but just follow those meditational objects and then just meditate on that.
Okay. Okay. Do you got that? 뭐야 다들 막 반납 텐데로 주니데 소용 없고라. 간지 파 코발은 주동 그런 봐. 주도 제당에 다 제원으로 송 그래. 제원으로 봐.
And so when it explains about the 12 link of dependent arising, then it's explaining in more detail about how one enters into cyclic existence and how one can exit or free from cyclic existence.
남중아도 배회가 곰바수 곤조골라야 텐데로 주니데 차당 지어다래. 그래서 다 저만 따바다 코반 주도게 텐데 룬줄도 곰야기 쳤다. 지어래.
And usually you see there's the wheel of life drawing on the outside of the monasteries. There's like a big monster holding this big wheel, the wheel of life. Where it has on the outer circle there are like 12 link of dependent rising, origination, and then there's inside there are the 6 realms, and then the 3 poisonous delusions, something like that. So it explains about the death and impermanence and how we enter in cyclic existence and how we can free from cyclic existence.
Okay. 다들 다는 가서 누가 아니 마리밤에 매반네 마리밤 세밤에 가시면 가시를 받아 듣고 디디면 특심하시오 말에.
Yeah, so here in the text, it just says that, right? So no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no cessation of aging and death. Very short, it's just the beginning one and the end one.
어제 다 되는 거 들만 지나서 땡데라 주니도 만 알아테이치 제3소로
That's
내가
right.
내가 도착 요래서 지나도 다시던 내 제고전에 고뇨 타고 주변다 시라마베 가린다고 여봐 너데베 가린다고 여봐 샘점에 가린다고 오마베 가린다고 자고 셰다마다 뭐다 네 시용 것에는 로다가 뜻슈고 있어.
So today I'm going to go a little bit into the 12 link of dependent origination. Just briefly. Of course, there's so much to talk about it if we go into detail. And then also there's a different explanation by different schools of thoughts, like how the Vaivashika school explains about it, how the Sautrantika or minority school or the Madhyamika school explains about it. So there's so much detail to discuss about. We're not going to go through all that. Just in general, how it is explained.
그래서 땐 중세나까지 땐서나 가정 가도 미지 소소로나 만족가로 락박가로 갑절 된 거나 소속을 안 두고 매봤다 가서 거기로 왔어. 어다 밑에 갑절에 된 거스나 갑절 가로 락박스메도.
So when talk about 12 link of dependent origination, I said dependent origination. So dependent, means like something that you have to depend on, right? Like an old man has to depend on a stick, to stand up or to walk. So it's like depending like that.
아니 땐 중세나 요래서 거 대다 때는 좋아다 아니 맞대네 요 말에서 그 아주 반매가 잘 거로.
So when it says origination, that means it exists. It means exist. It exists through dependence on something. Without depending on something, it does not exist.
아니 다투자 산제 좀 된데야 아니 땐데 거대 아니 야카 아니 다단다 신가지당 소마이 바래 아니 살루자면 도세 되는 거 소마 살루자면 도스나 간지 신가나 소마레스 오토소마레스.
And then so actually it said that Buddha taught the 12 link of dependent origination in a field, like in a farmer's wet field. So there's a sutra Salunja, and that sutra it was taught and in the field, in the farmer's like a wet field.
담보 가려는 안에 시 안에 땡지도 통화대 춘통화레스 오토시 소마이 바래.
So first he said, whoever sees dependent origination sees the phenomena.
근데 갈라나 수 땡진 통화나 안에 시가 땡지게 내가 되시나 대가 안에 다면 통화래 본연 통화레스 어디고 그래서.
So what he was saying is that whoever sees the dependent origination sees the selflessness, sees the emptiness.
안에 시가 안에 춘 통화대 안에 사제 도스나 덴데게 가자 담에가 또만년 통에 가사대 안에 사제 공부하다 요거 톱터 그래서.
And whoever sees the phenomena, so whoever sees dependent origination sees the phenomena, and whoever sees the phenomena will achieve the Buddhahood. So when you see the phenomena or like emptiness and selflessness, then we'll be able to achieve Buddhahood quickly.
다 됐다는 거죠. 다들 원하 땐데서 가내리 나도 코알라 가내리 거거든. 다 됐어. 또 소리 다 내려 다시.
And then that is this is how it is, and then how we circle in cycle existence.
내 옆에 내 중. 내 제외 내 제스 또 소리라.
Because this is there, therefore this comes, and because this is born, therefore this originates.
근데 color carbo요 인자 내 마보요레스.
So because there's a white, therefore there's a red. That's like saying like that.
그래. color 셴바 주면 carbo요래. 좀 테레비 갈라 그래. color 셴바 주면 carbo요래.
So can there be white without any other colors? What does the scientist say? Can there be white without any other colors?
그 마르케게 잡으려 그 color 뭐 보이도.
I don't think so.
제가 땡데서 된것도 남준 딴 테레비 시야다 가지 직땡을 로다나 강가 용거 고 직땡도 많다만 시켜요 받아.
So when it talks about dependent origination, it is in accordance, with the reality or logicals, and in accordance, with the way things are in the world. So if it is not the way things are in the world, then it is not dependent origination.
Okay, 다 된대로 중요한 것 같은데 다 담보 마리바메 사태다 마리바메에서 마리바사이도 와.
And so the first it talks about the ignorance, right? So there's no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance. And so first it talks about the ignorance. So that's the first link of dependent origination is ignorance.
다 마리바스는 다 ignorance. 다 마리베 젠지 안에 늦은 중어레스.
And then from the ignorance, comes the volition or karma.
안에 된지게 늦게 젠지 넘버 10인 거레스.
And then from the karma, comes the consciousness.
안에 넘버 10이 젠지 안에 명당 죽사된 거레스.
And because of the consciousness, there comes the name and form.
안에 명당 죽지 젠지 안에 현실 죽사된 거레스.
And because of the name and form, there comes the source of six sources of perceptions.
안에 현실 죽여다 레파사된 거래.
And because of this, sources of perception, there comes the contact.
안에 레바요와이다 되게 젠지 다 소화돼도 따님 소용 거래.
And because there is a contact, because of the contact, then there comes the feeling, of happy, unhappy, and neutral.
다 된지게 소화에다 대라 젠지 다 세파용 거래. 세파.
And because there is such kind of feeling, and then from that feeling comes the craving.
안에 된지게 세파디 영화다 안에 되게 젠지네 안에 렘바스데 야 축체셔나 렘바스 내용 거.
And then because there's a craving, therefore there comes the grasping, which is a little stronger than craving.
안에 된지게 렘바디야 안에 젠지 안에 스파세셔.
And then because of that kind of grasping, then there comes the existence.
된지게 스파 되게 젠지 안에 깨와서 된 거도.
And because of that kind of existence, then there comes the birth.
아니 깨와 영화다 아니 희와요레스.
And because there is a birth,
깨와야다 개와요레스.
because there is a birth, therefore there is the aging.
개와야다 희와요레스.
And because there is the aging, therefore there is the death.
아니 된지게 아니 희와다 다 냥다 내니마 오늘 전화 상지 좀 전에 그 쉬네마 아니 된데 본다 좁게서 좁게.
And so actually, Buddha has taught 18 links of dependent origination.
대 가리 용어다 희와에다 따대 냥의 용어로 희소와나 아니 냥의 책으로 냥의 용어레스.
And because there is a death, therefore there will be a sorrow.
아니 냥의 영화다 따 되게 되네 아니 명한데 봤어 가지 가로 따지 sembu야 강이셔야 되는 거레스.
And because there is the sorrow, therefore there is mourning.
대영화다 아니 다 아니 둥아 용어레스 둥을 하보야.
Because there is a mourning, therefore there is a suffering.
대영화다 아니 때는 염매대와 차로 그래서.
And because there is a suffering, therefore there will be mental unhappiness.
아니 염매대와다 아니 삼투도 삼tum 투도 아주 삼tum 투도.
Because there is mental unhappiness, therefore there will be a disturbance. Mind,
근데 영화다 대라 때문에 다 둥아지 풍부 전부 마시듯이 용어레스 다 송고해 말.
And because there is this kind of disturbed mind, therefore there comes the form aggregate.
오케이 다때 아니 시당 땐데 이놈아 용당 거다 다뭐 지여ben데 용 빨라여베 아마여베 보고 지치가 돼 용당 해야 되거든.
And so this is talking about how things come into existence in our life, as a life, cycles in cycle, life cycle, in circular existence. And so like that, because there is a father, therefore there is a mother. Because there is a mother, therefore there is a child, and so forth. Like that.
어디지 다 다때 된다 땐지 아니 룬주 치러와 룬주서와 룬주라고. 다 루도라나 다 아니 때 매화까지 속을 해야 되는 용 거야 봐야.
So this is how we circle in cycle existence, right? And now how we reverse it, how we come out of cycle existence.
아니 머리방 가와이나 아니 늦은 가운데 그래.
And so now if you stop the ignorance, then karma will be stopped.
아니 늦은 가나 아니 넘버 10 받으면 나와잖아 그래.
And if you stop the karma, then the consciousness will be stopped.
아니 남시대 매마다 아니 민다 죽된 가도 그래.
And if you stop the consciousness, then the name and form will be stopped.
근데 민다 죽된 가는 아니 신체 중 가도 그래.
And if the name and form are stopped, then the sources of perception will be stopped.
신체 중 거바나 텔레레 레방 가도 그래.
So if the sources of perceptions are stopped, then the contact coming from that will be stopped.
아니 레방 거바나 텔레든 소화된 가도 그래.
If the contact is stopped, then through that the feeling will be stopped.
아니 소화된 가오나 아니 세파된 가도 그래 말이.
And if the feeling is stopped, then craving will be stopped.
아니 세방 거나 렘방 가.
And if you stop, the craving, then the grasping will be stopped.
아니 렘방 거나 아니 세방 가.
And if you stop, the grasping, then the existence will be stopped.
아니 세방 거나 개방 가.
And if you stop, the existence, then birth will be stopped.
아니 개방 거나 아니 다 개화된 가도 그래.
And if you stop the birth, then there will be, then the aging will be stopped.
아니 거안 가나 아니 희화도 희화가.
And if you stop, the aging, then the death will be stopped.
아니 희화된 가나 아니 냥엔다 명한 대화다 둥하다 예매 대화다 초반은 저런 가도 그래.
And so if you stop the death, and then all the everything that comes from there, the sorrow, the mourning, the suffering, the mental suffering, the mental disturbance, and so forth will all be stopped.
오케이 다대 땡질 룬주 루도고는 마다 그러 그 미다다라고 해요. 왜 다대.
And so this is the true feeling of dependent origination. How we circle in secularism and how we can stop circling in secular existence.
오케이 다대고 아니 고발한 주도 제반으로 그래 제반으로.
So that's the extensive way of how we circle in secularism and how we can stop circling in secular existence.
아니 대주들 아니 디디치는 곧 덴바시셔요. 와.
Then after that, then it talks about the Four Noble Truths, in short, how we circle in secular existence and how we can free ourselves from secular existence.
오케이. 다 내려야 아니 진짜가 가셔 뭐고 시야요. 다 책까지 저와래 아니 가리가리 것도 다 뭐 렌데 것도 찾아 땡땡 오는 거예요.
So when you're talking about the true feeling of dependent origination, and how many time it takes for one to complete all this true feeling of dependent origination. And so in one lifetime or two lifetime, and three lifetime, like that.
근데 콘솔라 덴텐도 보잖아 말이 근데 남시던데 그 덴텐 지그레스.
And so they're also again and they're like kind of divided into different groups, like the ignorance, volition, and consciousness are in one group.
뭐지? 아니 민주지 신체 투지 아니 레파지 초와파데 아니 가롱가로지 아니 콘솔 그룹직 잡요레스.
And then from the name and form, the sources of perception, contact, and feeling, are in one group.
아니 셀레스 파섬데 그룹직레스.
The craving, grasping, and existence are in one group.
아니 개와다 개와니데 아니 그룹직 잡요레.
And the birth and gashidida.
가시. 가시데 개와도 개와니가 그때나 다 특식 소주로 왔어.
So birth and aging and death are in one group.
오케이. 다들 방 고뇨 도긴배.
Shall we get into more complicated?
어디 다 누구 지삼다 거든. 다 말이 받은 데서인데 봤어. 다 배나 간조 배나 강사 좀 거와지 않아 생각만은 더고. 아니 다들 심한 로비게 땡데라 주니 따버는 좋아이나. 생각만에 당가도 내라지. 단 내니 심한 로발라 단 도당 가니 나가도는 진도다 셔와이나스.
And so how we if we go through the 12 feeling of dependent origination, then through how we came from past life to this life, and then from this life to the next life.
답배 자신나 생각만은 더 공비 아니 지가 다 아니야
And so from past life, to this life, coming to this life, from past life to this life, coming from past life to this life, and so that which motivates us to come here is the ignorance.
간제 레소 중에들 내가지 중에들.
Anyway, so it's the motivator, or someone who makes us to create the karma.
아니 덴데기 레소비 내가지 부모들라 아니 니지 덴데라고 해요.
And then the aggregate during which one creates the karma is called the dependent origination of volition or karma.
아니 아니 세 아니 마이가드 뉴스 자마 때문에 내가 남시 덴데서라고도.
And then the one who is about to conceive in the mother's womb is called the dependent origination of consciousness.
다 되네 아니 메인가드 뉴스 샤니 옹보 툭 옹보변에 주라로 옹보 주서 마트베 내가들 미지 봉보셀레 무주 무사데 잘 그래서.
And then soon after conception, before forming the form, the sound, smell, and so forth, that's called the name and form.
다 되네 아니 옹보도 차와 대차바지 미시소지 아니 랑가 이카카가 좀 못되네 내가들 아니 신체도 그때데스.
And then so let's say then your five senses are formed, but not able to perceive any object with those five senses yet. And at that time, it's called the six sources of perceptions.
다 되네 영원 남시 좀 디지 아니 이진 조와시는 토와데도 땅님제 셀라소바 카카가 셰마토비 내가들 레피텐데스 이거도 다 디가는 것도 맞게 사와래.
And then when the object, the sense, power and consciousness, they come together, and then are able to cognize the object, then at that time, then you get the contact.
Okay, 코너도 야보세만 변나 셀라소바다 시민이 바로 변나 부추가라 가리가는 칼 사셔가 왔다 디네 가로 서로. 시동 사이 바코지나 가리데 야가 가리도 아마 가리니나 사대요. 어디네 가로. 다때 레피텐 디사이드.
And so that's at that time, you can get a contact. You can get the contact, and it's like a child, who just eats any kind of things. He knows, it's to eat, but he doesn't know what is good to eat and what is not, good to eat. He just eats anything that he gets into his hand.
아니 되네다 디제네다 아니 이지 다 지초와데도 예완 파시엔 네바지. 그래서 안에 다 포몬 쳐바심 다 가오진 주바심은 심미비 나가더라 아니 초회되래 사용 와인 말.
¿Cómo garza?
포몬 주바심은 네바지래 봐. 다 이진 제와 신 네바네데 아니 주바심은 네바트죠. 달라 아니 초회되래.
Tuba.
주바 다 포몬냠도 내야지로 됐어.
그래.
포몬
그러니까 대단하다 나가도 돼. 너는 그래.
담마 타치다 담 보야 전부 차서지 이나다 가리가면 야만나 야지 다 부모 바지 가오지셔야 돼 근데 셰문이 내가들야 아니 초회된데스 아주로 깨서다
저렇게 말하는데.
깨다
이렇게 할까? 아,
깨다 대시반에서
나는 뭐래?
말만 투바슈 문이베 투장가 와도 초회된데스 영원납시선 되지 예진저와 셴 니바치 이지나와도 영원 제시반 니바치 이나 아니 딘데게 여 아니 투바슈 문이베 나가들라 아니 초회된데스
실로 된살하다.
맞대요 다 되서
그러니까 나도 렉바다 소화도 가라다. 나는 말해.
엄마 소 강가 수치하다 강가 무수 된다게 된다고 마제가 가서 단다 민다도 시제도 좀 거려 봐.
아하.
또 강가 수치하다.
그래, 나 간제 가르사다. 요원함시 좀.
원하시던 되지 아니 이지 소화들이 따님선 아니 저 냐토보에 왔지. 얘나 다티게 소배배나 부문 투바시 미니비 나가달라야 소배된데서.
And so what Geshe is saying is that is after that, one is already born, and one is already have taken a birth, and then so you're able to get this the object, the sense power, and the consciousness three together. With that, you're able to experience the feeling of happiness and suffering and neutral feeling. But just before able to say, engage in a sexual activity. So that up to that, is the feeling. It's the dependent origination feeling.
네, 덴디 에는 투바시베 예 베메솔로 베메소와라 마주비 네까지 아니 데네에서데 아니 투비 예 베메소라 마주비 네까지 다 데네 송데 아니 덴디게 소소군 투바시다가 예 베메솔라야 아니 다 슈토게 봤더니 마주비 네가들 아니 스베데라 그래서.
And then from there, from that feeling, from there, you are able to engage in that sexual activity, but not engaging in yet. Able to, but not engaging yet. Is the clinging.
다 데네서데 아니 제와 시만주비 리끈은 홍화시베 네가지 아니 제와 심하게 네가지 아니 뭐바 레사와 생이 든지기 내가 본 거들 렘베 때리려 그래서.
되네송데 다 가서 또 부모 저 투만에
저와 셰토바네 다 제와 시만 주비가 아니 지기 양 레사오데 내가들 렘베 때리서.
And then, so after you are able to engage in the sexual activity, and then after that, engaging in the action or karma, creating karma, to take a birth into next life, is the grasping.
레사오데 든지기 레사오시베 내가들 아니 스비텐데스. 렘바데 베나 레사 중에도 오지. 아니 세바데 레상에도 오지.
And so up to like you're able to create the karma, create the karma. So then when you are creating the karma, so which makes you to create karma is the grasping, and then when you are creating the karma, then it's existence.
아니 제와시마 마잉가데 년서 샤마 타바들 아니 제웨텐데라 그래서 타고 제와시마로 살이야.
And then in the next life, when you are just to concede into the next life. Then you're, then that's the birth, dependent origination of birth.
어느 데네께지 이반에서데 아니 다다 아니 가시된데서 버렸어. 예외께 이반에 가시된데.
Second moment of that, then there establishes the dependent origination of aging.
오지 다 도우치는 가는 코와째버려. 단데 센 데네 나만의 총은 데네 심한로 와서 코 세슴라고 시작이 그랬어.
And so this is how you circle and cycle existent through the through this 12 link of dependent origination. Like it's talking about how you came from past life to this life, and from this life to the next, goes to the next life.
Okay. 단데지 아니 페제겔레 파윈 드버 드지질레 드빈 드버사이 들마보시아 다도 소시나 코타 고디드노 되는 거 보면 이제 페제겔레데 말이 드시 남시든 페제겔레치 대금 파데데 아니 미즈네 토에 파테 나치 아니 된 드바싱에데 아니 슬레스 바슴치 디 드빈 드버데 제가니스 오두샤레.
And so these are, like I talked about earlier, the four groups, right? So the first one is called the throwing karma. So the throwing karma, are the three, the ignorance karma and the consciousness, and the thrown result, are the name and form, sources of perception, contact, and the feeling, and then there is the actualizing karma. So actualize that which actualizes, that which actualizes your karma, or activates the karma and actualizes the karma. So that's called the actualizing karma. Those are the clinging, grasping, and existence. And then the actualized result, are the birth and aging and death.
다들 로다 찌게 된 로다 찌 다들 가서 제와 차상실 잡소 때 제와 가만은 더 너네 심어져 제와 섬자요 다시.
And so that's that's like completing this all this 12 link of dependent origination in 3 lifetimes, from past life to this life, and then from this life to the next life.
오케이. 다들 로다 찌지 답이 야 다들 신발이 나고 땅 고브리서 다들 다 하셔야 요서. 베나 실리스버슨 그 시사데 베나 실리스버스 마린 대신 남시에서 마리베기 글라지 대제게 레사 되게 바자 남시 때는 샤다 코데 샤샤요다 코도 데데.
So the first group, the throwing karma, right? So the 3 that's known as the throwing karma, are created in one lifetime, right? So out of ignorance you create the karma, and the imprint of that karma is left on the consciousness.
다테 비 못에 동자 뭐뭐 데데. 근데 단단 가지고 파지 샤 지오 뭐 트라우마 지금 가가 제와를 되는 가지고 열레데 열다.
So there, this kind of karma, stored in our consciousness, it's there are a lot of, there are billions, countless karmas like that, and they can, be there and be in our consciousness, for eons and eons, for countless eons. So we have we have the seed, the imprint of the karma, to be born as a bird, born as kind of all kinds of animals and human beings or gods and so forth. Is that imprint of karma, to be born as such and such, created by the ignorance, is there in our consciousness now.
다테 아니 단 저와라 빼나 다 단단 가지고 빼나. 단다 가리 빼야가서 누가 셔. 저도 가이가 빼야가시는 거 누가 하니까.
So you can apply to that, to the positive, or negative, like karma, good karma or bad karma, right? So what do you want to talk about? Good karma or bad karma?
당도 야가야지. 당도 빼나 지나서 다 가리지 저도 가리지야 가요. 저도 가리지와 가고 그렇다.
So let's talk about the good karma. What do you like to be born as? Anybody preference?
Human being.
Human.
얘는 뭐 가리지야 뭐 가리지야 가고.
What kind of human being?
A wheel turning king.
어야 다 된대게 빼나. 다 알아서 빼나 웰트니 킹게 된대게 잡고 된대지 깨와가 레 사샤들이 레드 바샤된 것도 제 섬제 레드 사요와 옛나 다 된게 레드라 아니 가로 깬테고 그래 깬.
So say we have created this karma to be born as a wheel turning king, so, and then the imprint of that karma, is left out in our consciousness. So the imprint is there, imprint of the karma is there, but it has to be activated. If you don't activate it, it will be there all the time. So it has to be activated.
다 다나가도 키는 다나가도 냠도 돼. 다 레드 다나가도 냠도 돼.
This imprint, of that karma is with us all the time. We're taking with us all the time.
다 텔라야 다수 당가도 시가라가 당가도 시다고 그래. 실리스 바슨 텔라 시다고 그래.
So that has to be activated, usually it gets activated around at the time of death.
그리고 가르고 세파 렘바 스파슴 가지 세바세데 잡아지 되게야 아니 슈셔스나 렘바지 되게다 니반 튼제된 레브슈마 깨쳐주는 아니 스파세데 예레스 다 대시가라가 아니 되게 가지 바샤 아니 가로 소주고 셈 가와 슈체바이나 대대 텔파 아니 바시탐도 그래.
And so this has to be activated by these 3, the clinging, grasping, and existence. So you have that, wish, to be born as a king, to turn a king, and then that kind of wish or the clinging, like clinging to that thought, to idea, to that thought, to that idea, and then, then that clinging becomes, stronger, with the grasping. And then when you have that, then when you have that strong attachment or grasping, then that creates the existence. So by then, with that, then your karma to be born as a returning king is activated.
어제 제자 아니 도저 다 디질라 아니 단다 동보 아니 아니 세팔렘바 스바섬죠 디질라 다 개와셔말랭 거래 아니 무주 센체도 아니 조베텐데 아니 어디 쟁거다
디질라가 깨워 말해.
다 되는 지든 디젤라 가르쳐서 디젤 안에 뮤직 되는 제거라다. 야, 뮤직 제는 끝이니 반이 제가 되는 접사. 스베지스 뮤직 디젤 텐제토 디젤 소위 텐데 디젤 제외 텐데 제외 텐데 제외 텐데다 뮤직이 텐데 디념도 잡았다. 제외 텐데 뮤직 텐데 디념 잡았다.
네. So then after that, comes the actualized the result, right? So that which is the birth, right? So birth happens, at the moment, when your consciousness enters into the womb, mother's womb. When you are conceived, at that time, the birth, starts. So and soon after the birth starts, then you have, at the same time, you have the name and form.
안테네 셴체토 테네 초와
디게진예반에 가시 가서
디케지마다 가시다 다 가시 가와도 쇼와스
시와도 도야만 가와라.
가와데
So then on the second moment of the birth, then the aging, the two dependent on origination of aging, starts, right? And then from there, then comes the six sources of the perceptions, and then there comes the contact, the feeling, and so forth.
오케이 다 하고서 변나 셀림 가로 말인 대신 남치 섬데 아니 배적이 있겠어 마음 팽이지 곱 사면 팽이 샤샹에도 고치.
And so those, the ignorance, volition, and the consciousness are the throwing causes.
그러와 다 그건 레버도 원에도 갔나 아니 미주니 셴체 두고 봐도 대니 파윈 레버 파데데 차요레스.
And then from the name and form, to the feeling, the four, are the thrown results.
얘나 대용어 로바체게도 살았나 셀레스 바서 로바체요레스.
And what activates them to be thrown result, is the actualizing causes, which are the clinging, grasping, and existence.
어쨌다 셀레스 바서가 마 아니 시타서 잘라야 아니 미주도 셴체도 고 깨베된다 고 냠냠냠 팅도 냠도 하시더라고.
So once once it's activated, once the karma is activated, the imprint of the karma left on the consciousness is activated by the clinging, grasping, and existence. Then the actualized results, like the birth, and at the same time there comes the name and form, and then after that comes the six sources of perception, and the contact, feeling, and so forth. They all come one by one after that.
한 고비서 해. 단데 내가 온 곳에만 된 고뇨 타월. 양게 단데 텐데 차치다 무치다지. 도 녀로 타워 요리.
You understand that, or are you confused?
다 가셔 된 샤샤는데 앞에 파시라 마시나 야.
Yeah. So yeah. So I think that much should be enough. If we go too much into it, then you get more confused again.
다 고대와 변 마링 대신 남치 섬데 단데 레선 레다 단다 감줄라 요래. 다 레는 감줄라 단다 키니로 감줄게 렌람라 요다 키노다.
So motivated by ignorance, we create the karma, and the imprint of the karma is left on our consciousness. So we have done that so many, like countless of karmas we have created, right? And the imprint of all those karmas are in our consciousness. So we are taking with them. Taking all those karma, imprint of all those karmas with us all the time, from life to life.
제자 드네 다 단단하도 텐들라야. 비짜라 가리 비에 가리 차박 가세 주버지 세박 가세 저버지 다 되게 슉치하고 시간을 갖고 니는 니바땀도 그래.
And so whatever we are used to that, so whatever thing that we are really strongly attached to, or that we cling to or grasp to, that will be activated at the time of death.
막 기실라고 쏜 거래. 저나도 쳐다 심해도 돌라 차바샤 마치면 또 기약을 내서도 그래 쏜 거래.
So Geshe Tenley used to just say that, don't be so attached, to your dogs and cats, because by clinging, by being attached or by clinging and grasping to them, you create the karma to be born as them, born as a dog or cat.
제가 안에 다 간지 째와 심마 가르치 미치던 간도 시가라가 실리스 바선 거다 간죠 저부터 문주용 거다 다 고치라 사전들은 로사데 꼴레는 거래.
So whatever we're used to, whatever kind of clingings that we have in the life, in our lifetime, then that is the clinging that we're most probably going to have at the time of death. So if we have that kind of clinging and grasping at that time of death, then that karma will be activated at that time. Then soon after we die, then we'll be born as that being.
아니 잘라드네 차대와야나 아니 심마도와 돼야다 아니 지 잘라 냠도 못네 째어드네 나도 랍대 봐.
Yeah. So like we talked about I think the power of white karma, white seed, right? Power of white seed on Sunday. Like if you are attached to something, then you will not be able to die easily. It will take a long time for you to die, or if you are attached to something, then you will be born as a kind of some kind of animals, like like a frog or a scorpion, or like a snake, and then be like coiling around the object that you are attached to.
Okay. 다 내가 제주 가르잖아. 나도 제가 다 레몬보여서 다 내가 제주 가리 나도 시가 나가 아니 다티 가지 레야 보이라 쓰다 봐도 내가 침 봐서 단다 내가 또 개와야 보던나 나도 개베스미야 보요네 아니 마고바 양조 단다 다 키.
So like I said, we have so many karma, right? The imprint of so many imprints of the karmas left stored in our consciousness. So any of this can be activated, So what will be activated at the time of death depends on how we, behave now, right? And during the lifetime. And so if we create, if we are very virtuous and create only good karma all the time, then we'll have that kind of mind manifesting at the time of death. And that way, the good karma will be, and it will be activated, and we'll have a good rebirth in the future life, in the next life.
제가 드니게 레몬보 사샤에 왔다 다 레데 코 깨나 말이나 코 데데 날 콜하 데데 거를.
And so since we have all these different kinds of karma, imprints of the karma in our consciousness, if they don't meet with the condition, they will always remain there.
다데 가르진 메와 가르잖아. 야만나 간도 냠보 거네 코 아니 손은 못 써서네 코 가리가리 메와 차로 그래서 거라 니바 충차로 그래.
And so only way to end it is through the practice of purification. So if we meditate on the antidotes of that and or purify that through purification practice, then it can be purified. It can be ended there.
베나 간조 베나 추존의 시바나 베나 단다 베나 센들랑 간조 삼점 고나데야 깜바나가 잠을 뭐뭐여 와서 삼점 추야보 징에들 잠을 마용데 이거 그래서.
And so like in this lifetime, when you encounter all these small kinds of difficulties or sicknesses, like having headaches or back pain, knee pain, or breaking leg and so forth. So these kind of problems, small problems you face in this lifetime. So usually it happens, mostly, to people who are practicing dharma.
다 간조 남베 가르나 아니 대가 다 랭가 봐도 사로 베나 개왕가 계속 시작을 내려 사샤에 왔나 근데 텐데 누가 때도 지금 되게 고쳐로 그래서.
So in Buddhism, we say that with that small suffering, we purify all those negative karmas. So the negative karma, which we have created, to be born in the lower realm, can be purified just by experiencing a small headache in this lifetime.
제장도 라 메지가 쫑카나 태존대도 그냥 제가 락바드 제기 했더니 제가 당길람나 그것도 뒤손으로 그 락바드 제사다 그 태존대면 거죠 뒤손으로.
And so like, somebody who's going to be punished, either to be killed, or to have his hand cut off. And he will say, oh, cut off my hand, but don't kill me, like that.
제가 오늘 제가 간도 단대게 텐들라지 누가 강에 들어먹어. 단대 얘기 제왕가 마사지 랭게 들어 타로요 삼바이나 아니 소소 강에 들라시라 강에 뜨기 말해.
So like that, so someone who's going to be executed, can be released just by having a hand cut off. So it's much less suffering, right? So just like that, by experiencing some kind of suffering, some kind of minor suffering in this lifetime, you get free of those big karma, heavy karma to be born in the lower realm. So as a Dharma practitioner, when we experience this kind of small sufferings, then we should rejoice, thinking that, oh, by experiencing this, I have purified the karma to be born in the lower realm.
Okay. Good be so.
More confused? head swollen.
Geshe, can
Yes.
you explain when you said like to cut feeling to end grasping? Nobody wants to have no feeling. Can you explain more exactly?
What?
So if you cut feeling, you cut grasping, going in reverse. But who wants to have no feeling? So what does that mean exactly?
Alright, that's how much 그래서 the 렘바처를 써야지.
알레레 다데라고 간제 간주 베나 초와들 차니 아니 간주 레모 사게라 데레다 데리고 초와 가지 둥아데 메와차로 그래 초와 둥아 메와차로 그래.
So yeah, because the grasping, comes from the feeling, right? So you have that feeling, and so you have grasping. So if you don't have the feeling, then you will not have the grasping.
베나 세바 되게 왕기 아니 가로 다 초와 되도 용거 와스. 젠다 세바 메나 세바 용사게 조내나 둥어 조데 초와 둥아라다. 초와 둥아데 메와차로 그래.
세바드면은.
세바데 메나 아니 세바 텔레 되게 텔레 되는 거 아니 초와 둥아데 메와차로 그래.
And so, usually the feeling and like the feeling of suffering comes from the clinging, So if you don't have the clinging, then you will not get the suffering feeling, the feeling.
간단히 네 메사데 초와 대왕에 메와라고 기자 말다. 간제 초와 둥아도 메와차로 그래.
And so here, when we talk about no feeling, that means maybe that actually refers to the suffering feeling, not like happy feeling.
필링 야도 라요 말 뺏어가다니.
So of course you don't want to get rid of the good feelings, right? It would be too bad if you get rid of good feelings also.
Okay?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Related to Mark's question, though, there is a link between feeling and grasping. So the link between feeling and grasping is craving.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't matter as long as you're not generating the grasping, because that's what potentializes the karma. So you could still have feeling, right? As it doesn't create, feeling doesn't necessarily create grasping. Craving creates grasping.
Yeah, 레와티가 아니 다 초와 둥아데 된 거로 와.
그래, 너 동화 소화되게 되는 렘바 키는 거라.
Yeah.
렘바 소화되게 감독하다 가서 세바 소화되게 세바인 거라. 다 감독하라는 렘바에 그거 말했어.
네, 레와에다 초와인 거로 와. 레와 이게
렘바 개시가 말해.
아니.
소화당 되네 세바당 에 가서 렘바스 레과마다 렘바. 안도 실렌스 버스면서 세바당 안에 렘바스죠 실렌. 이 렘바스 거래.
어때? 렘바 세디 찍들어다. 이제 시당 렘바 세디 단디야 스바얀 파충이데.
네.
스바얀 파충이데.
그래, 다들 영어로 담볼래 세바인 거라.
야, 대용어로 띵가라 아니 이 세바인 거라. 세바.
Yeah, so from the feeling, comes the clinging, and then from there comes the grasping. Well, it's you can say, you can say grasping and clinging, or clinging and grasping. So it doesn't matter, right? So anyway, so what we're talking about is like attachment. Right? So clinging is like being attached to that feeling, and then when your attachment becomes stronger, then we call it, we label it as a grasping, but it can be clinging or grasping, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so what it is a stronger attachment. Stronger. You get a stronger attachment. First, you have to get an attachment, and then it's just, yeah, that's really good, and then you really get stronger attachment. So I must have it now, like that.
Okay.
It's like saying, I want to have it. Oh yeah, that's good. I want to have it now. It's also good as I must have it now, like that.
That's good. Yeah. Yes.
Geshe, one more question, please. I thought I heard you say early that the 12 links could play out in 1, 2, or 3 lifetimes, but I don't understand how it could play out in one lifetime.
제자가 다때 시당 가가지고 양 다때 시당 고비에도 지금 요리.
체질을 간데 저도 그랬어요.
근데 저다 지금도 와. 개왕감에 레 such a way, less such a way, na, and it takes less of a center channel to open. Give on me less such a pena. Caro. Can you test someone on a channel to order?
말에 무엇이네 채찍도 간데 저도 그래. 저랑 되게 채찍다 채니다 채솜으로 좋아할 수 있어.
The teaching door the any chick the young
채찍도 요 말아.
chick the bachi. Less sang it and it under less of a yamba. Tell ya can sit down at the young and it tended 30 yambaji jenny and it tenders on the world.
대단한 채찍.
The thing is the thing is a thing is a thing.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Did I say one lifetime? That's not possible in one lifetime. You know, like 2 or 3 lifetimes.
Okay, perhaps I misheard. I thought I thought I heard 1, 2, or 3, and
No,
so
2 or 3 lifetimes. Yeah, I think
2 or 3 is only.
possible in one lifetime. Yeah.
Thing.
So at least 2 lifetimes, or it can be 3 lifetimes.
Okay. Now you guys a little bit discussion about that, okay? It become pretty interesting. You know, you can see the pictures. This is a how to that thing on call and judo chetang be developed. Then it debate and then the
So this is more like elaborate, you know, like extensive way of explaining how we circle in cycle existence and how we can free ourselves from cycle existence. And then the short one, or the abbreviated one, is explained through the 4 Noble Truths.
And then they shooting out of Dembashi.
The next time we'll discuss a little more on that 4 Noble Truths.
And I go sharing you book Dr. Madosana, go Zunu Tomba Metami, Mixi, Mangaro, Paratawaya, Kangapan, and dead to the Hakona Yabudo.
So these are all related, but you know, if we just go, you know, just like it is in the Heart Sutra, then there's nothing really much to talk about, and we'll just finish it so quickly, just as we finished reading so fast.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Geshe-la?
Yes, please.
So you talked earlier and said that if we cut contact, we cut feeling. If we cut feeling, we cut craving. If we cut craving, we cut grasping, and so on and so forth. So from a practical perspective, which ones are the easiest to do, and which ones are the easiest to work on in terms of cutting them?
Yeah.
Or a normal human being?
Either was not easy. If either was easy, then we already enlightened.
Okay, for a normal human being, where should we start?
제가 똥바니 곰바이나 아니 가서 마리바디 넣어서 또 해와 요래서.
말마다 단다 때문에 하나 중요한 소다. 내가 중요한 다 레라셔데 간데 가야 돼 레라셔레스.
자도 간지 이바 체슈데 마리바 가야 돼.
가래 당보 까 버렸어.
다 가면 사람들이 새도 마리바 까고 올라갔다. 마리바 까서나 셴바 까고 그랬어. 마리바 까쇼데 간나타 리파데. 마리바세 아니 nguyen에서 마시 받으래. nguyen에서 심하나 아니 마리바 건 가로 그러. 제가 가상 가서 배나 zu라자 소소 zu도 간이 있는 거예요. zu나다 마타바 또 담발라 zu나다 트바 즈마도 코메 와차도 마리바 돈도.
다 너무 마리바 까 버렸어.
나 너무 마리바 까고다.
So like these are all related with each other, right? They're all dependent on each other. So if you cut the result, the cause still will be there, so you can still get the result, you know. And so the main cause, you know, has to be the one that has to be cut. And so once you cut, you know, the ignorance, then you'll cut the karma, then you'll cut, you know, creating, leaving the imprint of that karma on the consciousness, and then you'll cut everything else, you know. So therefore, you should strive, you know, to cut the ignorance. And for that, you have to understand the reality, the emptiness. So that's what we are studying about on Heart Sutra. It's all about emptiness, you know. So how we have to come to realize emptiness, and then we'll be able to cut the ignorance. If we cut that, then the rest of all will be cut off.
제자배나 마리바는 제자배나 나도배나 죽동바고 나도배나 죽라야 같이 차베 차바 나도 싫어 하고 막 차베 차바 영어도 신경 말해. 나도 죽라 차베 차바 죽 데마트 슈침슈가도 지라 요다.
And so we have a strong attachment to the forms. We don't even realize that we have attachment to the form, but we do, and also we don't realize that we see forms existing from its own side, but we are always seeing the form as exists from its own side.
Okay. 제가 텐딩 가도 가다가도 쭉 동바고 쭉 공에 나도 쭉 라지 잡은 정말 신경 많아. 쭉 동바에 봐 야보 그나 쭉 라지 잡은 받아 매도 봐인자 아니 말이 받아 줄라 미 말이 받아 매서 말아.
And so if we strive to see how form doesn't exist from its own side, and or form is empty of exists from its own side, then you will have cut off the ignorance in regards to the form.
제가 담보 대가 맞는 것도 변다 수자매 사월 집에 딩하는 것도 내 자당도 때스 것도 총 따타바네 고 미 마사들 하 되어자 고 양주 고래요.
And so if we don't do that, then of course we can strive to overcome the attachment, anger, and jealousy, and so forth. Yeah, so that's just like taking a painkiller. It doesn't kill the disease, from the root like that.
Okay. 가제 머리 봐서한테 네가 변나 우유에서 마시는 것들 머리 봐지. 단데 우유에서 신나 아니 그 리바차서 리바다 머리 봐 그럼 매워차로.
So ignorance means not knowing, right? So when you not knowing the reality or not knowing the actual mode of existence. So when you know the reality, then you have you know it, and so when you know it, there will be no knowing.
제가 담니 하고라 그럼 하고 맞지. 제가 라지 마트바도 제가 라지 마트바 하고 막 신고 말해서 제가 되려고 그랬어.
And so you don't know means like ignorance means you don't know. What you don't know is that you don't know that it doesn't exist from its own side.
제가 나도 라지 마트바 어려서는 나도 레라 그랬네. 오늘 나도 티 많이 받은 거 신기해 말해.
So if we are asked, are things empty of inherent existence? We say yes. But do we know that things are empty of existence? No.
배 차실라 니마지 미지 지나라. 오 저는 내가 찾아서 노르둘라 나가서 호드가 가도 나 따뜻한 저기 돼요. 저 노르서 주 미들까지 가도 바꾸는 땡거 봐. 디그 라지 잡아 하고 매매 따뜻한 거.
So like if someone suddenly says that you are wrong, what you did is wrong, then you will immediately think, no, I'm not wrong, I'm right. So when you have that feeling, then that means that you have grasping at the true existence.
Okay. It's not easy, but just try slowly meditation, okay? Okay, now if you guys like to a little bit discussion, do discussion, okay? Okay?
Saji perki juk ching me tok tram re rab ding jin yi de gian pa di sangye jing du mi te uwa gi drokun nam da jing la chur par shug je tun lame kutse rab ten chin nam ka trin le chok chur ge pa dang lo sang ten pedren me sasum gi drowe mun sel tak tu ne gyur chig Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. In that snow-mounted encircled land sorcery of benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech me all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. Through this virtue, may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise and where born never decline but increase forevermore. Make tse wei te chen chen rezi Dream Kien Pe Wang Po Jom Billion Gang Chen Ke Pe Tsu Gen Song Ka Pa Lo Sang Drak Pe Jab La So Wa De. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Damshala.
Thank you, Damshala.